Parents don't want their kids to be indoctrinated. They want their kids to be educated. Parents don't want to have a conversation about CRT. They want to have a conversation about A, B, C.
Centerpoint contributor and former Senator and Ambassador Scott Brown has been holding backyard barbecues with different candidates in the crucial early primary state of New Hampshire. And he recently spoke with South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
One of the questions I have, you have a new plan on parents and children and education. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah. Valid question. We want to focus on empowering parents so that we protect kids. Parts of the plan includes a Parents' Bill of Rights. We want parents to be able to control the curriculum, the elective curriculum, not the mandatory A, B, and C's. Parents don't want their kids to be indoctrinated. They want their kids to be educated. Parents don't want to have a conversation about CRT. They want to have a conversation about A, B, C. I've also said it within my plan, we should also not just think about a Parents' Bill of Rights, making sure that every single kid in every zip code has quality education and choice, but we also want to make sure that our adoption agencies and our crisis pregnancy centers are alive, they're healthy, and they're protected. This DOJ has turned a blind eye to attacks on our crisis pregnancy centers. And we focus as well on social media. Think about from the smartphone to the locker room to the classroom. We want our kids to be protected. That will require parental consent under the age of 14 on many of the social media platforms.
One of the folks grabbed me out there, she didn't have time to ask the question about Ukraine.
Yes.
Do we stay? Do we go? Do we help? Do we not? Is Putin a war criminal? Where do you stand on the Ukraine issue?
Well, America deserves to understand, and our commander-in-chief has failed miserably in articulating to the American people that our national vital interest is degrading the Russian military. When we degrade the Russian military, we keep our homeland safe, but we also protect our NATO allies. All for one, one for all. That means if there's an attack on land that is contiguous with Ukraine, countries right next door, that could invoke Article 5, which means that our military is over there. The way we stop that from happening is to degrade the Russian military. And the good news, Scott, is we've been effective at using our resources and the very high price of Ukrainian blood. If we can use our resources and keep our men and women safe, our soldiers safe and at home, it is a very, very effective strategy of reducing the likelihood of Russia attacking the homeland. And it degrades the Russian military so much so that Putin's desire to reunify the old Soviet Union becomes impossible. That keeps our Western allies safe as well.
And there was a question on life. I know you're pro-life,
Yes.
and the policy of the Democrats is an abortion up to the day of birth and thereafter.
Absolutely.
And obviously in New Hampshire, the governor through the legislature and everybody worked together to allow basically something that worked for New Hampshire.
Yes.
Now, the question that somebody also asked me out there is, listen, the Republicans have tried for 50 years to basically reverse Roe v. Wade, and they succeeded. And now there's an effort, it seems, to federalize a 6-week abortion ban through the federal courts versus allowing the states to actually go and do what they feel is appropriate for them. What is your position?
Yeah, for me, what we should do is make sure we block radical states like California, New York, and Illinois from having abortion on demand up until the day of birth. The way we do that is setting a 15-week federal limit that no state can allow for abortions after 15 weeks. It's a position that 72% of Americans agree with, and it allows states a lot of flexibility, but ultimately it protects life.
Great. Listen, Senator, it's great to see you. God bless. Good luck. God bless you.
And Scott Brown joins us now. Senator, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
It's great to be on. Thank you.
Okay, so we have seen that Tim Scott isn't doing that well in the polls, and he didn't get, I think, the boost he was looking for from the last debate. What does he need to do now to stand out?
Well, I had a long talk with him regarding that, and obviously he needs to step in a little bit more, like Vice President Pence did. Instead of being the nice guy that he really and genuinely is, he needs to be a little bit quicker in speaking, because he said he's from the South, he speaks slow. He's going to have to pick it up. I told him that very same thing. And he recognizes that he should have been a little bit more aggressive in getting his point across. That being said, we had over 425 people at this barbecue, and I'll tell you what, he answered questions for an hour, and people really loved him. And so while he may not be doing well in the polls, he certainly did a great job yesterday, and people were very excited to meet him. He shook every hand, took every picture, signed every piece of paper, a book, or whatever. And I think we'll see a different Tim Scott in the next go-around.
You know, something interesting, Senator, we have seen these stories coming out that donors are worried about Senator Tim Scott being single and him being a bachelor. Senator Scott has come out and said that his opponents are the ones planting those stories. Was that something that you saw people at your barbecue were worried about, him being a bachelor?
No, not at all. Respectfully, that gives him the ability to work 24/7. I think it's a little easier, respectfully, and having been married for 37 years, to really just put every effort into your work. I know Tim Scott. I played basketball with him. We were on the congressional basketball team. I worked with him. I find him to be a man of such great integrity and really a rags to riches story. And to do and say something like that, I mean, isn't that a little bit old school? Isn't this like 2023? I know it's like we go to protocol and people like to do those sorts of things, but you look at the Biden administration, the protocol in terms of keeping our country safe and securing our border and a whole host of other things, he doesn't do that. So all of a sudden we're going to worry about whether somebody's married or not. I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think it's relevant, and I don't think it matters.
It does seem like something from not this day and age. Let me ask you this before we let you go. What were those who came to the barbecue asking Senator Scott about? What were things they felt like they didn't know about him, or they wanted to have him set the record straight?
They asked everything. They asked everything from obviously the life question. They asked about obviously the economy, schools, what do we do with the border, and fentanyl, technology, you name it. I mean, every question. He must have taken at least 40 questions, went for a good hour, and then when we were taking pictures at the end, people came up and asked more questions, and if he didn't have the answer, he gave it to his aide to make sure they took down the information. And as I said, this is the only place in New Hampshire that presidential candidates come like this, and we've been averaging, we had for Vivek, we had probably 500. Tim is probably number 2, and then DeSantis and Nikki Haley right around there. And the next one we have is Christie, and then we have RFK Jr., because people want to hear. There's a tremendous amount of undecided voters. A majority of them were there yesterday.
All right. Well, we'll check back in with you for these other candidates. Thanks for bringing us this inside information on your time with Tim Scott. We appreciate it.